Okay, let's unpack this. It's a decades-long mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fueled by this grainy found footage.
Yeah, footage that's sort of taken on a life of its own over the years. So much speculation.
Exactly. We're diving deep today into the 1961 disappearance of Michael Rockefeller in New Guinea.
Right.
And you, our listener, you've shared excerpts from that Mr. Bellin YouTube video. So our mission here really is just to explore the different narratives around his vanishing.
Just based on what that source presents, yeah.
Yeah, based purely on that. And we should say some of this gets into pretty disturbing territory. So fair warning.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how one event, especially when it's, wrapped up in remote places and different cultures, it can lead to such completely different stories about what might have happened.
Totally. Our source lays out a chain of events, but it also kind of hints at how tricky it is to piece together the real truth.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's Saturday, November 18th, 1961. Coast of New Guinea, the Rewrote Sea.
Right near the mouth of a river.
Exactly. And our main guy, Michael Rockefeller, he's just 23. But, I mean, not your average 23-year-old.
No, definitely not. Son of Nelson Rockefeller, New York governor, future VP, grandson of John D. Rockefeller, the oil tycoon.
Serious family background. But his passion, it seems, was the art of the Asmat tribe. Specifically these bias poles.
Incredible artifacts. And it's really vital to understand these bias poles, they weren't just like sculptures to the Asmat. They were powerful spiritual things believed to hold ancestor souls. And they fueled this need for revenge against enemies.
Wow. So Michael wanting to get these, even with good intentions.
It could have been seen as a huge violation, yeah. His interest came from his father's Museum of Primitive Art, wanting to bring this art to the West.
Your appreciation, yeah. But it's complex.
Maybe.
He'd actually been there just a few months before trying to get one of these poles.
Yeah.
But this trip is where things went sideways.
Yeah, pretty quickly. Their boat, this 40-foot catamaran, basically two dugout canoes tied together.
Right, handcrafted.
Yeah. They hit this really rough patch of water where the river meets the sea. Super turbulent.
And the waves just swamped the engine. Killed it.
So now they're powerless, just drifting further out into the Rewrote Sea. The source really flags this sinking catamaran as the immediate crisis.
And who was with Michael? There was a French anthropologist, Renee.
Right, Renee. Her focus would have been more on, observing and understanding the culture.
And they also had two young Asmat guides with them, Simon and Leo. Teenagers.
Yeah.
So the boat's going down. Simon and Leo, they decide, okay, we're swimming for help, which was about half a mile away then, but they were drifting fast.
A brave move.
Definitely. But Michael and Renee, they decide to stay with the sinking boat, partly to save their supplies.
Yeah, things like tobacco, fishing line, tools, stuff they plan to trade.
Even with the boat sinking, Michael was apparently still focused on getting that bis pole and other art.
It really shows his intense focus on the Asmat art and culture, maybe even obsession.
Could be. And the source mentioned something else interesting, right? About a previous trip.
Oh, yeah. He'd actually been shot in the shoulder with an arrow during some tribal conflict before.
Whoa.
But he kept it secret from his family, apparently out of, respect for the tribes, didn't want to cause trouble for them.
Shows a certain protectiveness, maybe? Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. Simon and Leo, they make their swim.
And the catamaran eventually flips over completely. Now Michael and Renee are just clinging to the hull.
Michael uses gas canisters to help him float. Smart thinking.
Yeah. But by the next morning, Sunday, November 19th, still no rescue in sight.
And Michael, apparently a strong swimmer, decides he has to try something.
He tells Renee he's going to swim for shore,
All right.
which is now 5 to 10 miles away in rough seas.
Grueling. Renee's terrified. Anyway. But Michael feels it's their only shot. So around 8 a.m., he sets off swimming.
And the timing here is just crucial. Michael starts swimming Sunday morning. Renee's left clinging to the wreck. About 12 hours later, Sunday night, a plane spots Renee. Simon and Leo had reached help, alerted people.
Ah, okay. So they made it.
They did. A boat picks Renee up soon after she's spotted, but there's no news of Michael. None at all.
And that's the trigger, right? The Rockefeller family machine kicks into gear.
Oh, absolutely. A massive search is launched. We're talking ships, helicopters, planes. The U.S. Navy gets involved.
Huge resources thrown at it.
For weeks, it's intense. Then it continues less intensely for years.
Yeah.
But nothing. No trace of Michael.
Wow. despite all that effort.
So by 1964, that's 3 years later, the family, according to our source anyway, they accept the most likely conclusion.
That he drowned?
That he drowned during that incredibly long swim. His sister even writes this best-selling book about losing him.
And that becomes the story everyone knows in America, right? The accepted narrative.
Pretty much. Case closed, as far as the official version went.
But there's always a but in these stories, isn't there?
Almost always.
While America kind of accepted the drowning story, a totally different narrative starts brewing in New Guinea.
Whispers, rumors, spreading along trade routes, through missionaries, even in adventure magazines.
The idea that maybe, just maybe, Michael survived.
Exactly. And then, in 1969, this adventure magazine reporter, Milt Macklin, he gets a tip. Some Australian guy claims he saw Michael alive in the jungle.
No way.
So this kicks off a whole new wave of speculation outside the official story. Macklin sees a huge story, obviously.
You bet.
He takes a film crew to New Guinea, searches all over, talks to people, but doesn't find anything conclusive, writes a book about it, basically saying he couldn't find him.
Another dead end, seemingly. But Macklin's trip, it left something behind, didn't it?
It did, inadvertently. He and his team shot hours and hours of film footage.
Okay.
And incredibly, most of it just sat there, unexamined, for decades, like 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah. Then another documentary crew, still chasing this mystery, digs up Macklin's old footage, and they watch it closely.
And they find something.
They find something. Well, the source calls it unbelievable.
Okay, what is it?
It's a brief shot, really distant, a canoe full of Asmat warriors.
Okay.
And among them, there's a figure. A naked, bearded white man.
Who looks like Michael Rockefeller.
Who apparently bears a striking resemblance to Michael Rockefeller.
My God.
It's just this fleeting image, right? No context, but you can imagine.
Yeah. Just throws gasoline on all those rumors. Did he just walk away from his life? Go native?
That's the speculation it fueled. Did he abandon everything to live with the Asmat? It's such a romantic, sort of wild idea.
But the source is careful here, right? It says there's no definitive proof.
Absolutely not. It could easily be misidentification. Someone else entirely. But still.
Still, it adds this whole other possible layer. Accidental death, or maybe something else entirely. Choice.
Exactly. That footage is just a powerful reminder of how new evidence, even ambiguous evidence, can totally shake up what we think we know.
Okay, so that brings us to the third narrative. And this one is, well, it's the most disturbing one presented in our source.
Yeah, this comes from Carl Hoffman's book, Savage Harvest, from 2012.
Hoffman, a National Geographic journalist. He was fascinated by the Rockefeller mystery for years.
Right, and he didn't just fly in and ask questions. He went there, lived with an Asmat tribe for months, gained their trust.
That's some serious commitment.
It is, and that immersion, that's probably key to why he reportedly got the story he did. You build relationships, people might share things they wouldn't otherwise.
And what did he learn? What's the story he was told?
Well, according to the source, 3 Asmat elders named Finn, Jim, and Pep, they reveal what they claim is the real story.
But with a catch.
A huge catch. A dire warning about the consequences, like deadly consequences if the truth got out.
Okay. Heavy. So what did they say happened?
They described the morning of November 19th. That's about 24 hours after Michael started his swim.
Yeah.
These 3 elders, plus maybe 50 other tribe members, were out in 8 canoes, right at the mouth of that same river where the catamaran sank.
Wow, same place, same time window, basically.
Pretty much. They're just doing their thing, and then one of them spots something in the water, moving towards them from the sea. A white thing.
Michael.
At first, they're wary. Maybe it's a crocodile or something dangerous. But they paddle closer.
And they realize it's a man.
A white man, floating, exhausted, using flotation devices. It's Michael. He sees them, he's relieved, maybe crying, grabs onto a canoe.
Just thinks he's saved.
You'd assume so. But then, the source says the 3 elders look at each other. A silent agreement passes between them. They help Michael into a canoe, but instead of heading to a village for help, they turn back up the river, inland.
Away from safety.
And the whole group starts this strange chant, something Michael wouldn't have known.
This sounds ominous.
Very. They reach a clearing, but it's not a village. Michael tries to talk to them, tries to explain about Renee, about Simon and Leo, needs to rescue them.
But the language barrier.
Huge barrier. They don't understand him. And apparently at first they just laugh at his attempts.
That's cruel.
And suddenly the laughter stops. The chanting starts again. The tribe gets out of the canoes.
Even a Michael.
He senses something's deeply wrong. He stays in the canoe. Instinct, maybe.
Good instinct, but
But it doesn't help. The tribesman who laughed first, he raises his spear and spears Michael in the side. Horns blow, a signal.
Oh, wow.
Michael screams, tries to fight back, protect himself. He gets speared again, other side, falls out of the canoe into the mud.
This is horrific.
2 tribesmen grab him, drag him into the jungle. The chanting, the horns, it's all still going on.
Like a ritual?
Exactly what the source implies. They reach another clearing, deeper in the jungle. They force Michael to his knees.
And then?
1 tribesman pushes his head forward. Another one hits the back of his neck with an axe. Then a knife. They sever his head.
And
it doesn't stop. The account details. Well, the dismemberment. Organs, flesh, bones, all separated.
Okay, this is graphic.
Extremely. They start a fire, cook him, eat him.
Cannibalism.
Ritual cannibalism, according to this account. The brain, the source notes chillingly, was saved for the 3 elders. The rest of the meat was saved too.
And the skull.
One of the elders, Finn, took Michael's skull as a trophy, covered it in banana leaves, painted it.
Unbelievable. What was the motive? Why would they do this?
Revenge. According to the elders Hoffman spoke to, it was revenge. Payback for past killings of their own warriors by white men, possibly Dutch patrols years earlier.
So Michael just represented the enemy.
He was seen as a way to avenge those souls, the ones trapped in the bis poles Michael was so interested in.
The bis poles again, central to everything.
And they were apparently also deeply offended that he, this outsider, was trying to just buy these incredibly sacred objects.
So it was a mix of historical grievance and immediate offense.
That's the motive presented in this account, yeah.
Yeah.
And after it was done, when the search parties arrived, total silence from the tribe.
For decades.
For decades. Until Hoffman's book, Savage Harvest, brought this alleged account out.
But even then, because the story is so shocking, and because the mystery had existed for so long, there are still questions about it, right? About its credibility.
Absolutely. It's a third-hand account told decades after the fact with a warning attached. It's powerful, it's detailed, but questions linger. Officially.
Officially, the story is still drowning.
The official stance remains that Michael Rockefeller drowned during his swim for help.
So you're left, as the listener, with these just wildly different possibilities.
Yeah.
Accidental drowning.
The accepted story for years.
Or this ritual killing, this act of revenge, detailed in Hoffman's book.
A deeply disturbing alternative.
And then there's that grainy footage, that hint, however faint, that maybe he chose to disappear to live a different life.
Yeah, that adds that whole other dimension of intrigue, doesn't it? It really makes you think about how different cultural views, different perspectives can create entirely different realities around the same event.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other stories, what other truths might be hidden? What other things we think we know might be completely overturned if some unseen evidence or some untold story suddenly came to light?
It's a compelling thought. How much do we really know about anything when you get right down to it?
Definitely something to chew on.